What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. Really pumped up for today's episode. I'm going to be chatting with Mike. He's a journalist with Diesel World, and he did a really cool article recently about diesel versus electric, and he approached it from a completely different angle than what I've heard or researched or even thought myself. And so I definitely wanted to bring some attention to it and be able to chat with him and have him introduce you guys to the concepts of, which is more efficient, what are some of the benefits and drawbacks, what are some things that are going on in the marketplace. Has electric already won, and is gas and diesel just going to be pushed completely out of the way, or is there going to be some sort of hybrid of what is out there that we're able to choose from and drive? So he's got some really good insights. Looking forward to chat with him today about it. Before we get to it, though, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, which is Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking for a drop-in turbo, something that's really simple to install, you pick up some power, torque, efficiency, whether it's for towing or a street truck, something you're looking to make good power with, make sure and go to dansdieselperformance.com. You can check out a complete lineup of what they have. They have custom colors for covers and tons of different things for your Duramax, and they also have parts for Cummins and Power Stroke as well. It's a really easy-to-use site, and I always have a really great time chatting with them. We're going to be doing an episode here soon and talking about turbos and what they've been up to. So definitely make sure and check them out. Also, if you're not on our Discord, make sure and jump on. You're going to find a link down below, and you're also going to see a code on the screen. It's completely free to join. It's a really cool place where diesel podcast fans, truck enthusiasts, myself, other people at the podcast, we're basically all able to interact. And I love seeing the builds that you guys have, the things that you're working on, questions that you guys ask, or you give us suggestions for somebody that you want to see on the podcast or a topic that you'd like us to cover. It's a really cool place. Also, if you're looking to support the podcast even more, we have some really cool perks for our Patreon members. You'll find a link down below to Patreon. It's as low as $3 a month, and it goes a long way to being able to help us continue to grow, to get better with what we do, to be able to bring things to you guys that you're not going to hear or see anywhere else. All right, let's get to today's podcast with Mike from Diesel World and talking about diesel versus electric. Mike, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. I'm excited to chat with you today, and I've been a fan of your work for a long time, and appreciate all that you cover in diesel and the different topics, and I'm excited to chat about what's going to be on today's episode, which is a huge topic, which is diesel, electric, gasoline, everything else. So it should be a great time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Patrick. I was flattered whenever Adam, the editor of Diesel World, told me you wanted to speak with me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I went out to my mailbox the other day, and I had my Diesel World magazine show up, and the cover of it said, Diesel Electric, and I'm like, I got to check this out because it's such a huge topic for enthusiasts, for lots of different people. Is just trying to understand and figure out what kind of vehicles we're going to have in the future. Where does diesel fit into that? So I sat down, I read it, and reached out. And I'm like, I got to chat with them and and learn more. I wanted to start for, our audience that may not have read the article, may not know who you are. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, why you cover diesel topics, why it's a passion for you.
Sure. Well, I got my start at Diesel Power magazine back in 2008, right out of college. Basically snagged a dream job with that magazine. Moved out to California. But before that, I grew up around diesels, not necessarily knee deep into them, but family always had Ford diesels anyway. And obviously when the Duramax came out, that was a big deal. So I grew up with them, and then landed that dream job with Diesel Power, and just delved into learning, research. Whenever I was at the magazine, there were feature articles, tech articles, and a lot of time at the chassis dyno and drag strip, which I really came to like, testing parts, obviously horsepower chasing, and it kind of morphed into a really good career there. Worked there 6 years, left and went on to into the other side of the industry at a truck shop for a couple years. Missed the writing, and now I'm full-blown freelance, with the majority of my work being contributed to Diesel World. So that's pretty much where I'm at today. I only do diesel. I don't dabble in any other type of motorsport other than diesel motorsports either. It's where I like to be, and it's been good to me. So
it kind of mirrors what what my passions have been, which is I didn't really grow up with diesel trucks. They were just kind of around, but once I got bitten by the bug, it took over, and
yeah.
15 years on. I remember picking up my first magazine, and I'd sit down and I'd read them, and I'd subscribe and get them, and that's how I consumed information. And it's so cool to see how things have changed so drastically from like the early diesel power challenge, like the first one, to where we're at now.
Sure.
It's an entirely different landscape.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is funny. I just a quick memory. It must have been 2003 at the local truck pulls. So I was into diesels, but still learning. But there was a 12 valve Cummins there, second gen truck, with a HT3B over HX35, so over the stocker, and he pulled the sled almost completely around the circle track. And at that point, I was just I was sold for good, and that's all I wanted to do was diesel stuff. So I'm with you. Once you get bitten, you never leave.
Yeah, and it's covering it from a podcast perspective is, I remember starting out and it was all about horsepower and torque and trying to hit 2,000 horsepower, and now they're beyond that. And then the last couple of years, it's really dramatically changed, and I think that's what really pulled me in about the cover and the article that you had written, was this push for electric. And I did a podcast with a gentleman who hosts an electric vehicle podcast, and we talked about it. We talked about kind of the trend of it. But I know as a diesel enthusiast, I sit back and I think, how do diesel trucks and the future of it fit in? And so I wanted to kind of start there and get your thoughts and your opinion on how you view the future of diesel, gasoline, electric, hybrid, how this is all fitting together. Where do you see diesel going in the future?
Well, the first thing I like to say is I'm no expert by any means, but it would behoove you to learn about these things, because you're going to have to share the road with them eventually. Where I see diesel going is nowhere. It's going to be here at least another quarter of a century, as is gasoline. You may see more hybrid technology come along, because if you know anything about hybrids, any internal combustion engine can benefit from at least a little bit of electrification for emissions. Stay in the meat of the torque curve. A little bit of electrification can go a long way in terms of emissions. So everything's driven by emissions. So I see it going that way. But what I tell people is, automotive media has really kind of let me down, as far as all they've covered is the benefits of EVs and EV this, EV that, and kind of left internal combustion in the dust when it's cleaned up its act so much. So I built that into the article on purpose. But the first thing I like to tell people is diesel isn't going anywhere. We're still gonna own the road for at least another 20 years, in my opinion, maybe longer.
That's what I really liked about the article, is how it was very fair. It talked about the benefits of different platforms. And, you're right. I think in automotive media and in general, all I hear about is, electric is going to be the savior of everything. It's going to save us money. It's going to save the environment. It's perfect.
Right.
But there's drawbacks to it. And I wanted to ask you about those. What are some of the drawbacks or the challenges that it faces that we all need to think about, whether we buy one of these things or we don't, or,
Sure.
we're just thinking about it?
Sure. Well, from a practicality standpoint, the biggest drawback of EVs is range, and they're improving this every day. You got better battery technology every day, better thermal management, everything, but that also adds cost. So until they can get the cost down, of the vehicle, they're not going to be as practical as I think a lot of people think they are. But range is the biggest thing, and the effects on range, like due to cold weather, you're, for how everyone knows how frigid temps kill batteries, right?
Yeah.
That has a definite effect, and it has an effect on charging EVs as well. It slows them down and it kills your range. So from a practicality standpoint, EVs have a lot to prove to me, and they should to everyone else.
Yeah.
From an emissions standpoint, all EVs do is move the emissions from the tailpipe to the power plant. You've probably heard that before. It doesn't make it any less true, but they're not zero emission vehicles. There's no such thing.
That's what I really liked, and it caught my attention, that phrase is shifting it. And I feel like when this topic's covered, it's just, well, I plug in my vehicle, nothing comes out of the tailpipe. There's no tailpipe. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm doing my part, but that energy is being generated somewhere. And Lenny Reed from Dynamite Diesel Products had mentioned that to us on an episode before: is where's this power going to come from? Where are we getting it? How are you going to charge a vehicle? Or, even to think bigger is, what if we have 100 million, 200 million people with electric vehicles? How are we going to power that many vehicles on a daily cycle?
Right, right. Well, there's a lot of arguments that could be made to, that'll hopefully that will be solved in time.
Yeah.
As like I said, EVs aren't going to take over overnight. So hopefully, power, the grid can be built up to support it as things progress, as charging stations pop up all over the country. But yeah, that's just one of those things,
Yeah, I think, the part that appeals to me is, when I think of electric vehicles, I think of performance. I don't necessarily think of the emission side of it per se. It's the amount of power and how quickly it happens. And so I'm hopeful that in the future there is sort of a blending of technologies where we can use the benefits of that with, a heavy duty truck, or it could be a passenger vehicle, whatever it might be. It's really exciting. And then I start to think of the aftermarket, and I think, okay, well, what can the aftermarket do with a Tesla, or, the GM Hummer, or, the Ford Lightning, or other things like that? And it's really cool. It's just, I feel like we're moving almost too fast, and I feel like we're not paying enough attention to, specifically diesel powered vehicles, is how much they contribute to society, getting our freight from state to state to state, or getting to the job site, or towing things, and all those sorts of things. When I think about the future, I'm like, how does this all fit in? Can I go in 10 years and buy a, 2032 Cummins or Duramax or Powerstroke? What's it going to be?
Right. Yeah, I wish I could see into the future on that. But like I said, diesel's still going to stick around, though. You're not the military going electric. You're not going to see off-highway stuff going electric. Construction. You're not going to see that for a very long time, if ever. And then freight. We talk about pickup trucks, which is, it's almost easy to write them off. But you've got how many hundreds of thousands of trucks running all over the country delivering our. Electrification will be tried there, but it's just got a long way to go.
Now, something I was thinking about is, in covering the automotive industry for as long as you have, do you find that there's a lot of collaboration, or maybe hardly any, between different sides of the automotive industry? Like, as a diesel enthusiast, can you reach out to somebody who's really into electric, or somebody who's, that covers the gas topics, and just kind of brainstorm and talk about different trends? Or is it something that's really segmented, where, you kind of pick your lane, pick your platform that you like, and you kind of stay there?
Right. Well, I don't have a lot of EV contacts. I could count them all on one hand right now. Gas guys, I do, because I have dumb questions for them all the time. Why are so? But yeah, it's picking one platform and sticking to it. That's fine, but that can also get you into trouble. Like I said, be it for environmentalist reasons, political reasons, or practicality reasons, EVs are going to be here to stay. So I made a conscious effort the last year to start learning about these things. All the problems, the questions I had that I wanted to have answered. I've reached out to the most helpful people have been with the Society of Automotive Engineers. It can take a bit to get a response from them, but they're extremely helpful. And I think I quote the book. I actually got it right here. Racing Towards Zero, The Untold Story of Driving Green. It's a fantastic book. It will help you understand. It helped me understand, where we're at, where we're going, where we've been, which is important as well. And it's already outdated. It's a 2020 publication, I think. So in terms of EV, we're talking about it's a decade behind almost with the technology out for these things, but it helped me get my feet wet, for sure.
I think it really becomes important for listeners we may have that are their career, they own a shop, they're in that industry, is, they're thinking about what is my future customer going to look like? Am I going to need to, expand or open my horizons? And that's something that I really want to bring attention to, is we can, kind of narrow our focus and we just think about, this pickup truck, and it's a diesel powered pickup truck, and just my main goal is I want to see the industry continue to evolve and grow, and I want to see it get bigger. I know we all do, and
Mhm.
so I'm always constantly thinking about it. That's why I asked that question: is where do you find this information, or who's helpful, or where can you
Sure.
learn more? Because somebody's going to walk into a shop down the road and they're going to have some sort of hybrid diesel electric or whatever it might be,
Yep.
and thinking about your business plan and how you approach that.
Sure. The electronic savvy guys in the industry I know are dabbling with some electrification on diesels. Um, with a little help from electrification, I mean, who wouldn't want a 2,000 pound foot Duramax from the factory? You
Yeah.
know, you do that with some electric help, right? Um, I know that's being tried. Um, and just on the OEM side, it's very interesting. And I probably can't divulge too many details, but um, Allison Transmission, big name, right?
Yeah.
If you've got medium duty, heavy duty trucks with electric motors, where's your transmission at?
Yep.
They are subcontracting out stuff to try to figure out where they're going in the future with their operation, with their business, which is global. You've got $1 billion company that may not be able to produce transmissions that they produced for a century anymore.
Yeah.
So they're forward thinking too. So it doesn't. I'm not saying everyone abandon diesel and all that entails, but you're going to have to share the road with these things. So it behooves you to at least learn a little bit about them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd read something in, it's not fresh in my mind, but I had just seen something about Cummins and what they were doing as far as looking into electric and how they're having to expand. And that's a really great point that you bring up about, about Allison. I'm sure there's tons of other places is they have
Yeah.
to think about how do we stay not just relevant, but profitable, and how do we continue to evolve with what people want and what's going to be on dealer lots.
Exactly. Exactly right. Um, a totally new business model is going to be in store for you know all of these companies, really.
With with that article, that one of the things that I found really interesting and refreshing about it was just I don't think I've ever read anything from a diesel source that just the way you presented everything was so clear. Like when I finished reading it, I had a better understanding of where we're at, the benefits of different platforms, but also really how far diesel has come
Yeah.
with its emissions, its efficiency. And I know the enthusiasts, we all want to go back to 2003 or 1995 and
Right.
have that 12 valve or OBS or whatever it is, but it's been incredible what they've done in 10 years, 12 years.
hmm It is. It's amazing. It's some of that's frustrating, um, because 15 years ago, particulate matter and NOx were going to kill everybody. So we did EGR, we did DPFs, we did SCR, and a lot of that converts what's leaving the tailpipe into CO2. And then they decide, well, we're going to go after CO2. So it's kind of this game where we're always going to be chasing something, and then all the conspiracy theories open up from there, right?
Yeah.
uh, he's being killed off, and gasoline's being killed off. But it's yeah, like I said, whichever rabbit hole you want to go down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really just, um, to gain a perspective on it, and just 'cause we do see those things. We I hear it, see it all the time. Is they're coming after my diesel truck. I'm not going to be able to buy one. It's done. It's over. I got to buy a Tesla or some other electric powered vehicle. And the truth is somewhere in the middle, and that's what I really appreciated about that article. And I encourage everybody to if you don't get Diesel World magazine, go get it. Read the article. Um, you
Thank
know
you.
to be able to understand this, because it's so crucial. And
Sure.
I see it in talking with companies and enthusiasts and things like that, is how drastically it's changing. And if we don't evolve and don't kind of take it head on, that's gonna almost kind of be like the emission stuff, and
Sure.
how that dramatically changed the aftermarket, dramatically changed companies, dramatically changed what you can buy, what you find on a website.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it'll all change. No, thank you. I wrote the article as a beginning. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm no expert on EVs, but the little that I do know, I wanted to be able to share with everyone who is, just staying in their own lane.
Yeah.
Not interested in that. They know they're being bombarded with good press on EVs and no bad press, and a lot of people just have tuned that out already. But it's here to stay. I firmly believe that. But what's interesting is in the background, all of the OEMs, they're still forging ahead with internal combustion engines. They're not, that their game plan is EV on the face, but in the background, we're still improving the internal combustion engine every day. So they know it's going to be here at least another quarter century as well. They have to. They're a lot smarter than me.
And me too. I did an episode recently with the American Petroleum Institute, and they're working on oils for 2027. And so it's that innovation's constantly going. I really kind of struggle, as a diesel enthusiast, because it's always, I don't know, whenever I decided, hey, this is what I love, I really like it, it's cool, and everything is, I think, would I drive an electric vehicle? And it's kind of interesting to sit back and see what's coming to market. Somebody I know was looking for one, and they wanted a Tesla because it has the marketing, it has the press, it has everything that excites somebody who's not an enthusiast per se.
It's fashionable, correct? Yeah,
it's fashionable, and they were showing me, I don't remember what model it was, and so I just Googled, what electric vehicles can you buy right now, and honestly, the one that appealed the most was the Ford Lightning, but I come back to what you said in the start, which is range. And I'm like, the range isn't that great on it. If you could get the range up, I mean, who doesn't want that power? Who doesn't want these things? But it's such a hard sell, I think, to a lot of us is you go 230 miles or what, maybe it was 260. And I'd read something, Ford said, hey, we've done the research. We know the average distance that an F-150 owner drives every day, and this range meets it. And it's so hard to just kind of merge those two thoughts together.
Right. Yeah. But what if I'm towing through the Rockies and it's 5 degrees? What if I'm at max combined weight rating and I need to get to Utah from Denver?
Yeah.
It's just, what do you do? I mean, I saw a press release a couple days ago from Ford. The F-150 all electric was tested in at Eisenhower Tunnel, through Dillon, Colorado, and that. But then just very vague and nothing about range, nothing about the impact on range. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, where's the data? Anybody can make that 11-mile trek. We used to do it at Diesel Power all the time to test trucks. Go up the mountain, go up to 10,000 plus feet, turn around and come back. It's like a 22-mile loop. Give me something. What did it do to range towing that 10,000 pound trailer? That's what I really wanted. They weren't really forthcoming. But I do understand the appeal of electric. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing better than instant torque, right? That's what attracts diesels. I mean, when I do a boosted 4-wheel drive launch at the drag strip, I'm storing 1,200 pound-feet of torque in my converter, and then all of a sudden it's unleashed. Everybody likes G-forces, but that's from a practicality standpoint. It's the range. Whenever it's not about fun, can that be a commuting car? Can you get it charged quick enough if you're someone who's on the go and makes a lot of 30 to 90 mile trips every day? It's better as a secondary vehicle at that point.
Yeah. And we all know somebody who always has a trailer behind their Cummins Duramax Power Stroke. They're towing things to a job site or just using it for work, and it's like it's rare to see a trailer not behind a particular vehicle. So that's a real key part of it. Sure. I think that's the biggest part for the diesel enthusiasts, those that read Diesel World or are listening to this podcast, is they use them for work. And sometimes I kind of get into this mindset of, well, it's about power, it's about torque, it's about how fast it did an eighth mile or quarter mile time. But that's a very small percentage of the people who own diesel trucks. And so, that range and towing capacity it's going to be huge.
That's going to be the killer in my point of view. 90% of all Ford truck owners tow. They build, the Super Duty is built to tow, as is the GM HDs, and the Ram 3/4 tons and larger. But 90+% of your customers tow. You need to probably be forthcoming with the range they can see, or if it's cut in half. So it's going to be interesting. Way too many question marks for me to dive in completely.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm a researcher first and foremost, and a writer. So it's very interesting to try to keep up with the times on all this.
Not to transition entirely away from electric, but I'm curious about it. Is what are some other sort of trends or things that you as a writer, somebody who covers the diesel automotive industry, is looking towards or kind of piques your interest into 2022, maybe even into next year? Like, is it emission systems? Is it aftermarket parts? Is it, what's kind of interesting you about the industry moving forward?
I'd have to say it. Well, it's kind of a split, right? I'm very curious about the emissions friendly performance stuff that's coming out, and that's when a lot of people nod off and they don't want to talk about it. But I'm very interested in that. But then there's a split where we all go back to, like you said, 03. We go to UCC, we go to Shides, and we're kind of back in our element. It's like we're doing dinosaur stuff still over here.
Yeah.
And then over there, we're so technologically, environmentally friendly, advanced that it's like two different worlds. So I see it going the way it's been going. The clean side and the performance side kind of just doing their thing.
That's been something that's my greatest interest, honestly, as I kind of, I'm not old enough to remember the muscle car days. But like, if I think back to, going on a lot and finding a 68 Charger, Camaro, whatever, Plymouth, whatever it might have been, is, people older than me say, oh man, those were the golden years. You could go buy this, you could do all this stuff to it. But I see how gasoline has merged it to where, look at the power of like a Hellcat or the Corvette and tons of other vehicles where they still meet these emission standards and they're cranking out 600, 700, 800 horsepower.
Right.
It seems like that's where I would love to see diesel. And it was a couple years ago. I was chatting with somebody, and they had said the future of diesel isn't going to progress until we actually start seeing these emissions equipped vehicles running compound turbos, running different injectors, running different injection pumps. They have the tuning for it. Otherwise, we're just going to look back to a 2003 or 6 or 7 or a 95 or whatever it might be. And that's what I'm still waiting to see. I know it takes a lot of time and investment and testing, and there's so many things, but that's what I want to see. I want to see a 700-800 horsepower emissions equipped Power Stroke, Cummins, Duramax, whatever it might be.
Sure.
Because it's exciting, and it kind of bridges that gap to what I mentioned with, like, the muscle car days to a brand new Hellcat, or a Corvette, where you can kind of have the best of both worlds.
Right. And that's doable today. You can have a DPF equipped diesel at 700 horsepower. I know it's been done. I don't know what the lifespan is of the DPF, or, and there's a lot of, well, you need to cruise around in the cleaner tune. And then for the track, you use this tune. You'll build your grams of soot up in the DPF pretty quickly, but that was a big step too. And that's like 5-year-old technology,
Yeah.
So we just need more people to embrace it for it to actually happen. And by that, I mean people that are willing to invest capital in making it happen. The bigger name companies, who can stay in the performance segment on the drag strip in the dirt, but move into, kind of diversify their business, their workload, and get some emissions friendly stuff going, or more of it going.
We'd done an episode with SEMA Garage, and they were talking with us about how they help companies, go through emissions testing, whether it's federal or CARB, and it was really cool to see what they do being offered. And we've chatted with Duramax Tuner and PPI and other companies to see how they've embraced it, and turbo companies that are getting these products tested, and injector companies. And it's really cool to see how it's dramatically changed from like 2008, when it was just, take it all off and, here's, something so you can drive. It doesn't, check engine light doesn't pop up. It's not the same anymore. And I think the quality of parts is better now. I think the quality of tuning and fueling and turbos is better than it's ever been.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the companies that are going to those lengths are the ones that, they deserve to be here. The fly by night shops that just hacked everything off and threw some hack tuning at a truck, they're going away. I mean, if you're not willing to invest in it, you're not going to be around. If you're looking for the quick dollar, you're not going to be around, and that's what a lot of the delete game is. It's those are high paying, quick jobs at shops. They just are, so it's a quick buck, but there are ways to do this cleanly. So I'm looking forward to see what happens. It's been super slow progression to see, but I think the big names are coming around to it. I really do.
Yeah. I do as well.
Whether they're being, no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say whether they did it because they wanted to or forced to, the market changed, whatever it might have been, they've definitely done that.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. You put the words right in my mouth. Yep, that's correct. Whether they wanted to or not, they are now. You want to be in this industry, let's do it the right way. You can still have your off-road segment. I would never want anyone to get rid of that. That's what I really like and prefer. But the way forward, and because diesel's not going anywhere, we've already talked about that. Let's do it cleanly, and better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's this could probably be a 4-hour podcast talking about motorsports, RPM Act, tuning, everything else. But it was really cool to chat with you, and that's why I wanted to have you on. Is I do remember reading your articles throughout the years, but bringing attention to the future of what we're going to be able to have, and analyzing each platform, each energy source was really refreshing. So I encourage it. Like I said before, if you haven't read the article, go by Diesel World magazine, read this thing, check it out. And I wanted to ask you, what is the best way for me to be able to see what you're working on? Is it to go to a website, Instagram, Facebook? Where can I see what you're working on, the things that you're covering?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram. I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world. I'm sure we have all kinds of social media handles, but obviously Facebook, it's active daily. But I put the weekly newsletter together for Diesel World every week. So
okay.
You hop on dieselworldmag.com. That's my work, front and center. There's a newsletter, a news section every single week, and then I usually contribute 3 or 4 articles every month for Adam. So dieselworldmag.com is the place to find all that. And now a lot of articles lead with online. So they come out a hair before the magazine gets on the shelf sometimes too. So keep an eye on the website, and you can get some pretty timely stuff. But the article you're talking about is in the May issue, currently on the newsstand. So yeah, I hope it does well, and a lot of people at least pick it up and at least give it a thought, because EV is here to stay this time. It really is. It's not going away. It's not going to take over. A lot of people watching this podcast or reading the magazine won't even be here whenever electric takes over. That's how far out it is. So just keep in mind, we got to share the road with these things. Well,
I definitely appreciate your time and chatting with me today, and learning more about not just EVs, but diesel's future, things that you're keeping your eye on, in the aftermarket. And we'll definitely have to do this again sometime, and maybe circle back here towards later in the year, next year, whenever the new developments are happening, and kind of talk
Sure.
about how this is all fitting together and what we're going to find in vehicles.
Sure, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. It was nice being on, Patrick. I appreciate it.
Don't forget, diesel fans, make sure and head on over to dansdieselperformance.com if you're in the market for a turbocharger or tons of other parts. They've got a really easy-to-use website, and the guys over there are really friendly. So if you have questions, give them a call and chat with them. They've got a lot of cool things to make a truck. If you're towing with it, if you're racing, something in between. They've got builds and a lot of experience building trucks, putting them together to make sure they perform how you want. Also, don't forget to head on over to our Discord. You're going to find a link down below for that. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of our Patreon supporters, Texas Diesel Supply, Wrights Diesel Services, and also Kaleb. We appreciate your support. And all of you out there who subscribe, who are on our Discord, message in, comment on YouTube. We appreciate everything that you guys do. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.